Hello, it's me, Francis, and today I am going to make turn what I've got so far from my live streams into a sort of a completed audio for my Bandcamp Friday EP. And to do that, I've got to master my album, and that's what I'm going to try to do today. And I'm going to start out using stock Reaper plugins, and there's a chance that I'll end up wanting a sound that I can't confidently get with those, and backing out of that. But hopefully I can just use the stuff that sort of comes for free with Reaper. So let's just see what happens. I'm sharing my links right now, sharing this live stream link. If somebody else live streams in here, tell me how I can get my link to my live stream before I start it. Also, I think it's probably worth mentioning here that I was wearing this cape anyway. I'm not trying to be like extra dungeon synth or anything. It just kind of happened by accident. So I just think that's kind of a funny thing, a funny little aside, because it's not every day that you're wearing a cape to keep warm. But anyway, let's get started here. So this release is called The Beginning of Time. That's what I've sort of decided on naming it. And, you know, like people who say you can't name a song on your release after the name of the release, be damned, because I've got a track called The Beginning of Time on here. So here we are. And to begin with, I've dragged the songs in wave format into a new session. And before rendering them, what's up? It's Dagobirdo, Mr. Birdo, welcome. Anyway, I've dragged the songs into a session, and I have them each on separate tracks because I am going to work out the spacing between the songs. And many of these songs I've already decided are going to have fade outs, which I'll create in here. And I'll do it like that, or I'll do it a little bit more carefully with automation. So let's decide on a track order first of all. I feel like The Beginning of Time is probably a good track one. Maybe The First Rain is. Trapped Beneath Rusted Bars is probably track 3, I think. And one of these is like, I think it's this one. Yeah, this one sort of feels like the ending. So I think I'm going to put this one at the end, and I'm going to put Campfire at Town Square second, and let's try this order and see if this feels good. Just to make it easier on my eyes, I'm going to stack them and start out by trying to figure out the track spacing. If you've been watching my live streams, you'll already sort of know what these songs sound like. As a full disclosure, I did these in 1 hour long live streams, and I spent quite a lot longer than an hour on each track. I didn't have anything planned for the live streams, so I ended up in sort of uncomfortable or confusing places, and ended up going back and doing some modifications and making some changes to all 4 of these afterward. And so this is representative of more than 4 hours of work, and I just cannot be transparent enough about that. I don't want you to think that an EP like this really just takes 4 hours to make, because there's more work behind the scenes going on. And I guess while I'm on the subject of that, I think I want to ask a question that people can answer in the comments or in the chat. Would there be any interest in watching me create artwork for this EP? Because I do plan to draw it myself, and I can figure out a way to set up a camera for that and live stream myself doing the artwork if there's interest in it, but I'm not sure if that's something that's out of the scope of my channel. So this is one of the fade out songs. So I think that in this song I've got the track moving on with a drum beat, And then the drum beat ends and it just sort of loops in here. So at some point in this range, I'm going to create a fade out. And I'm going to do a quick mock-up of this fade out. And I'm going to essentially go through and listen to the end of a song to the beginning of the next one and do that with each of these tracks. And I'll create a little bit of spacing here. So there's track 2. And this one will also have a similar fade out, and this is just going to be a mock-up fade out first. We'll do the same spacing. I'm just using the grid here. This isn't necessarily the best way of doing it. And again, I might fine-tune this on my own later, but I wanted to show the starting point of this workflow first. This one's not going to have a fade out, but I still will fade the track out because there's probably some sort of like leftover delay. We can make the track's resolution quite large. And if you hold shift and the up arrow on Reaper, you can just like zoom in on this. And yeah, we can sort of see that the discharge from this delay is sort of going on for a while. I'm not sure if I want all of that. I'll cut some of it off and fade that out and see how this feels. Yeah, that's okay. I should have opened this before I started. Don't consume sugary beverages while you work on music, especially when you have fancy gear in front of you. I don't know why I'm not just drinking a glass of water or a cup of tea, but that Coca-Cola in my fridge was just calling out to me. Oh, that stuff tastes pretty good. I have a soft spot for it. This one looks like I had some silence at the beginning of the track, which is fine. I'm just going to cut some of that off and eyeball it for now. And at the end of this one, that might be kind of a weird ending. I actually might change my mind. I forgot that I ended the track like this. But as a starting point, that'll be fine. And I think what I'm going to do is start working on the processing. And I'm going to do a lot of processing on the master track. And I might do processing on individual tracks. I mean, as we can sort of see here, if I make the track resolution sort of fill the screen here, the output volumes are sort of like visibly different on these. And I might want to, first of all, zoom out of this so I can see a clearer picture of the transients in the waveforms, which are the little spikes. And yeah, so this one appears to be quite quiet, but I think this is supposed to be like the quiet song. This is the one that doesn't have any percussion or clicky sounds. It's sort of like the town music. So I think that one will be okay. And overall, I'm just going to have to tame some of these really loud points. Like that part's quite loud compared to this. And that'll probably happen in a compressor or something. But as a starting point, I like to use a saturation and an EQ on my mastering for a Dungeon Synth style release like this, because I want to sort of lo-fi it up, and I want to kind of go hard with the saturation. And with the EQ, I might filter out a bit of low end, and I might actually filter out a bit of high end as well. We'll see what happens here. Oh man, I love doing this. Hey, it's me. This isn't really common for mastering, taking out high end like this, but for a release that's supposed to sound like intentionally lo-fi, it could become appropriate. That's feeling okay actually with the 100% saturation. It's adding a lot of volume, so I'm going to dial it back a bit. Oh wow, you can. That's funny. My mic's really loud. You can hear the rain outside. At least I hear it in my headphones. Okay. Let's I'm gonna hit it with the master limiter plugin as well. This is gonna make my voice louder too. I might turn my input down as I boost the volume here. Hello, cool. Okay. Okay. And I think what I'm going to do is play it back from the edge of this part and see how this fade out feels, and see how the transition to the next track feels, and start making decisions relating to the tone of the album with the EQ. And another thing that's sort of like a full disclosure is that I'm going to have to go back and do another pass of this when I'm off of live stream, because I don't trust my headphones by themselves. So I'm going to do a pass with my monitors as well, and I recommend doing the same if you have the space for it and the opportunity to have like studio monitors. Make sure that it works in places that are not your headphones too. I want the fade out to happen sooner here. And as a result, I'm going to have to pull everything else over to match. I think that's where our distance was. Oh, shoot. Okay. I also kind of like S-shaped fade outs on tracks. My initial reaction there is that the fade out's a little bit too long, and the spacing is a little bit too long as well. I'm going to bring it to the left a bit, and I think I might do the same here. Same idea, S curve, and adjust the spacing. This one fades out as well. No, this one doesn't fade out. Okay. This one might need a little bit more space, because when the track gets quite quiet towards the end, we end up with the idea that it's silenced sooner, I think. So let's just see if this fade out feels good. Yeah, that feels fine to me. Okay, and let's just check this one as well. little bit less space. I think I like that. Let's just see how this ends here. You know what? I was initially thinking I would fade out on this. I have this sort of like definitely not dungeon synth part in this track. Also, it sounds like there is a mistake in the render. Yeah, for some reason the synth didn't turn off in that spot right there. It just went to a low note. So I need to make a note that this is wrong, so I don't accidentally release it with that mistake in it. And again, I'm not going to play through the whole track and spend 15 minutes of a live stream just listening to my own music, but I will do that as part of my mastering process, where I need to make sure that the whole release it sounds fine if you just turn it on and leave it on. And it's sort of like an unfortunate side effect of writing music is that you end up having to like actually listen to your whole album like multiple times front to back without interrupting yourself and making sure that it sounds fine. But I'm gonna have to solve that problem, I guess, on my own time. Let's go back and think about the processing here. What compressors are there in stock Reaper land? There's the these always I like these things. Where's that spot? There was a spot that seemed really loud. I think it's right in here. This is like probably the loudest point. So when you're working with a compressor, you want to see how it reacts to the loudest point first, in my opinion. I mean, there's other uses for compressors, like as a tone shaping thing, but in this case, I kind of just want like a sort of like analog modeled compressor sound to squish the peaks down a little bit. What do we have here? Let's with and without. Okay, that seems like it's working pretty well. I guess I would need to check some of the stuff that's going on in here too. I'm almost thinking that this could be a more appropriate starting song. And this could be a good ending song. There's something weird about ending with a track called The Beginning of Time, but maybe I'm just overthinking this. You know what? I could fade this out. I wanted a fade out at the end of the album, and I don't have to have that ending. So let's just cut it off and do like a really long. Yeah, okay. Actually, I kind of like that. Nice. So at this point, this is pretty much what the master would look like if I was using stock plugins only. I'm going to experiment with a few other sounds now. I probably will take them off just in the spirit of making this EP only stock plugins, but I just want to see what it sounds like. I just want to make sure that there isn't something that I've purchased that I really like that will make me feel happier with the release, and then like stop myself because I promised my audience that I would not use anything beyond stock plugins. So leave the stream now if you're worried about that. I am going to try adding a tape simulation, and I'm going to try adding an analog modeled like mid-range EQ and just see what those feel like. So here we go. So a stereo Pultec is a really, really common thing to use, and a tape saturation is another kind of a common thing to use. So I'm going to try putting the tape saturation last, like it's like a on tape, and the Pultec first. And I'm going to mute my microphone when I do this because these are going to be, I'm hearing the feedback of, not the feedback, the ASMR of my room. And I want to make sure that I'm just hearing the music, and I don't think that the background noise that I might be adding with this is too much or too little. So let's start playing it back and see what happens. When I'm pulling those up and down, I'm just exploring what that sound is. So I'm choosing the frequency at which I am boosting or attenuating, and I'm just listening to the frequency basically and listening to the curve. And what I did down here is this is actually really important because it doesn't make any fucking sense at all. If you look at this, it's like, oh, Francis is on live stream boosting and attenuating the same frequency band, which is like pretty much below the human audio range. I'm like, I've got, I'm boosting and attenuating 20 hertz by like 2 units of knob, which is really like hilarious if you don't know what's going on. But this is an analog modeled clone of what's called a Pultec, and they have a really, really, I guess, desirable tone coloration when you attenuate and boost specifically like the low end part of the EQ. And a lot of people will do this at 30 hertz, and a lot of people will do it at 20, and it's very popular for hip hop. It's kind of how you get the like earth shaking 808s in a hip hop track that like comes from just slamming a Pultec with this stuff. And I'll see if I've got like a nice low frequency spot in here that you can hear that on really clearly. Put on headphones or turn on your subwoofer. No 808s in here, so it's a little bit less extreme, but it sort of rounds out and fills out the bass frequencies in a way that I like. But like I said, I might just pull this out because it's, it's not a stock Reaper plugin. But listen to what that tape is doing. I think this tape might end up staying, and please forgive me if you're watching this for just stock Reaper plugins, but I really like the way that colors the sound. There are ways to replicate the sound of one of these plugins with stock plugins, but you'd probably have to use like one of the ones like REAPER that's like going to essentially learn an EQ curve of something else. So at the end of the day, if I were to use that, it's the same thing as not using stock plugins because you're learning the EQ curve of a not stock plugin. Another thing you could do is essentially run these tracks through a real tape. And some people will do that to fantastic effect. You can get some really cool lo-fi sounds by like recording your digital audio to a cassette player, for example, and then recording it back in. And that's essentially what I'm trying to replicate with something like this. This is a little bit more of like a hi-fi tape sound. If you want to compare like a hi-fi tape sound to more of a lo-fi tape sound, I'll pull in a couple of tape plugins here so you can hear them. This one's really cool. I like to think that it's called Super VHS Baby instead of Super VHS from Baby Audio, because Super VHS Baby is a better name. And then Isotope has a nice tape. I think it's called Vintage Tape. Yeah, this one's good too. Okay, let's just compare these real quick and see what each one sounds like. I'll pull up a little bit of stuff. Super VHS Baby. Okay, and then what's this one have? Oh, it's just basically we're just trying to add harmonics. I have this set to 7.5, so I'll set this one to 7.5 as well. Okay, cool. So I'm just gonna try out a couple of these. I'll turn my voice off. I think I like the sound of the J37 the most out of these in this context. So if I keep a tape on this, I'm going to use this one probably. I also might consider using, this one also has sort of like the flutter, tape flutter sound that will mess with the pitch a little bit over time. I'm not using that right now, but I'll consider turning that on later. But anyway, let me just play this with and without these additional plugins that I've done very little with, but I think that they color the sound in a subjectively nice way. So I don't think they're necessary by any means, but they sound cool in a different way. And so I think that the big takeaway here is that analog modeled plugins will sort of do something to color the sound on their own. And we could try to recreate some of that with just like EQs and things like that. But what you end up with is just kind of a big time saver. Like if I'm looking for that sound, you can pay $30 for a plugin, fire it up, and it's just there. And I guess I could spend time making presets for like re-EQ, but for most of my stuff, I just don't want to do that. And I'll use things like J37 on almost every song that I make, just because I think it sounds cool. Let me just explore what that's doing to the sound on each of these tracks and see if I like it on all 4 of them, though, before I make any decisions. Yeah, you hear that it just sort of thickens up a tiny bit. Hey, Ian. How's it going? I haven't seen you on one of my streams before. Let's hear this one now. Bye, Dagobert. And hello, Ian. Welcome. Okay, I have one more relatively important takeaway here as far as mastering goes. And again, this is just like, it's a really challenging thing to do on a live stream because basically I'm using Reaper for my voiceover here. And hello, Diamonds. I like your cat in a box emoji. I didn't know that there were such cool emojis on here. Wow. Oh my God. Cool. I'm gonna make that emoji in chat. That's fun. Okay. Anyway, basically, when you're working with a mastering engineer or mastering your own project, there's often going to be a back and forth between whoever's mixing the project and whoever's mastering it. In this case, I'm doing it all myself, so the back and forth is between me and me. And between my headphones and my speakers, and sometimes into the other room where I have, a crappy computer with crappy computer speakers, and I can just see what it sounds like on, like, if I don't care about audio and I like music, if I were to buy it and I didn't have a nice setup, what would it sound like in a crappy setup? And the idea of mastering is that it sounds fine on a crappy setup and sounds phenomenal on a great setup. But essentially, if I were the mastering engineer on this project and a back and forth with the mixing engineer was an option, I identified an error, just a straight up error here, where a VST rendered incorrectly, essentially. So there's a problem with the actual instrument here where it does something that sort of malfunctions. And in this part over here, there's a problem with the transients. You can see actually pretty clearly, I think, visually that, like, what the hell's going on. It just gets really loud right here. And I think that that's something that I don't really want to deal with as the mastering engineer in this context. I really don't want this transient to be so loud. I don't want any of this crap right here to be louder than this stuff. So I think that I want the compressor on this song to really just be on whichever instrument that is, which is this sort of like drippy sounding synth. You can hear it right here. It's so some synthesizers, especially like a lot of digital synths, will get louder in amplitude as they get higher in pitch, which is a huge problem if you don't do anything about it in a mix. So I think I need my compressor to hit that instrument by itself. And I want to bounce over to that track now, but I also have to bounce over to this track, and I would have to cut off my voiceover in order to do that. So I'm just making a note for myself that when I work on this off of stream, I'm going to solve that problem by going back to my session for Trap Beneath Rested bars, and probably introducing a compressor to that one synthesizer. And I'm going to go back and fix this problem because that note's not supposed to be in the song. It's just sort of going there for some reason. There's a glitch with resynth, I think, where when you put on the portamento mode, it just like will do that sometimes. And anyway, I need to solve that problem as well. I think these two tracks are fine, although Campfire at Town Square sounds like it might have too much delay. I might have hit it too hard with the delay. What's up, Davey? I hear a click a few times. I also have it on a track this moment. You don't hear it when you convert to wave. So like a click track, like the metronome, or just a click in general. So over the live stream, my computer just doesn't want to do, it doesn't want to live stream and process audio in a lot of ways. So especially when I save or hit Control Z, sometimes it'll skip and it'll have to catch up with the sample rate, which will cause a click or a pop. And when you render it out, and convert the track to wave, you won't have that anymore, because if it needs to take longer to process the audio, for example, it will just take its time doing that. And instead of making a little click or a pop, it will just render the audio properly. So that's why you wouldn't hear it when it converts to wave. I hope that's what you're asking, and I hope that answers your question. But anyway, I think I'm going to need to cut this stream short, because I'm going to have to start bouncing between projects. I'm going to have to bounce over to this session and this session to fix a couple of things. But overall, that's relatively close to what mastering is going to look like in a Dungeon Synth project. And, as a matter of fact, I might... I'm going to do one more thing before I stop, actually, come to think of it. I'm going to make a marker for each song. So this one's going to be the beginning of time, and I'm just going to name these so that I can double click in my timeline, and it's going to highlight that region. And when I render, I can choose to render the time selection, and I can make a render queue so that I can just render all of my songs out from the same session in different wave files, which will be super helpful, basically. And that's a great way of mastering. You can also do this with creating regions from items. So and then rendering from the grouping matrix, basically. Come on, I've got like a little pop up down here that I don't want. So in here you could render from this too. That's a little bit complicated. It's more of a sound design approach. But let me show you what that looks like. I'm shift question marking to go to my action list, and if I go create regions from items, here we go. Yeah, so it's an SWS extension, so you'd have to download that actually. But if I did like this, highlighted all of them, and then run that, it's going to create regions up here, and you can render from regions. So you can see they're named after the tracks. So that's a pretty good way of doing it too. I'm not going to do it that way because that's SWS extension, and not all of you that are watching this are going to have those downloaded. Although I do recommend trying them out. So Campfire. I'm also going to number the tracks. O2 campfire at Helm Square. This one's gonna be trapped beneath rusted bars, I think is what it's called. And then this last one, I'm also just clicking on the edge of this to lock onto that position. So this one's going to be the first rain. And again, I forgot to number it, but that doesn't really matter. It matters in the final product sometimes, especially if you're working with other people. Number it and put the tempo in. I'm also going to put an end marker here. I'm going to give it like a moment of maybe like a little bit of silence right at the end. So end. And now I've just got these 2 markers to solve, and I'll save the project again. And I'm pretty happy with this progress. But like I said, I'll need to listen to it on my speakers, not just in my headphones. And I'll need to essentially go in and see if I can tame the transients in track 3 using maybe a compressor or some automation. Because it's just in one of the instruments, I don't want to do it with a compressor on the master bus. And in track 4, there's a glitch. The synthesizer's like rendering inappropriately, so I might have to spend some time troubleshooting that. And troubleshooting's always boring. I'm not going to live stream myself doing Google searches. Why do not work it? So anyway, that's really all I got for you today as far as streaming goes. And if you are still here, thanks for tuning in. And if you are watching this on a recap, feel free to ask questions in the comments, and like and subscribe to the channel if you enjoy this, because I do this stuff a lot now. I've been really enjoying it, and I assume that if anything, I'm just going to be doing it more. Thanks a lot. I'll see you next time.